Okay, Betsy, we are back on the record. Second episode.
Well, I was going to make you move backwards so you wouldn't see my wrinkles.
No.
I also am going to have to get my hair cut, I've decided after looking at myself.
Well, it's always tough to hear your voice and see yourself. But to us, you look like you always do, and it's wonderful. So I know you did some homework from the last session.
Yes.
So we'll start there. What do you want to share with us
I was
about?
just going to say that it's amazing how many John Fauntleroys there are. It's just amazing. And they did come over. He came in. I thought I had it marked, but he came over. Oh, sorry. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. Tristan, who is Tristan Fauntleroy. Tristan was a family name, and he has a picture in a church, which is right here. And we told Parker and Laura about it, and they went and looked at the picture. Well, anyway, that's why they think they named him Tristan. Was because of that. So I had that marked for that. And then I have this marked. Where you look, there's a John Fauntleroy. They came over in 1609. No, excuse me. Somebody was buried then. Well, I'm sorry. I should have marked it with the pencil.
That's all right. That's a long time ago. Do you know? And I guess you don't know why they came. Most people didn't come here because things were going great for them in the home country.
Well, if they're French and they were Catholic, I guess they came to get away from the Huguenots. But if they, maybe the grass looked greener. I don't know. It doesn't say why.
Right.
It just says that they came over and they I'm sorry, I'm wasting time.
That's all right.
But I swear I found it and now I can't find it.
Well, that's okay. We got more sessions, so come back to it.
Right, let's go to the Gaylords.
Okay.
The Gaylords, interestingly enough, there was a man in Merrill's class at school called Ben Gaylord, and Merrill was a friend of his. And he was really into genealogy. Unfortunately, he died quite a while ago. He was a neat guy. And he told Merrill that when later on, when I got married, I guess Merrill sent him an invitation. So he wrote and said that we were cousins. And he had a lot of genealogy stuff. And it's interesting, at the time I wasn't all that interested. But it says, ancestors of the Princess Di of Wales. That was Abigail Holton, descendant from Edward Holton of Hartford and Northampton, Massachusetts, ancestors of Princess Diana. How about that?
Well, in our house, we say that Walter and Parker on their mother's side have descended from Rollo the Viking and William the Conqueror, and on their father's side, they have descended from Yitzhak the Tailor.
There's some very interesting names on this. Okay, the Gaylords came over in about 1630.
So your family's been here since before there was a United States.
Oh yeah.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
So let me one of the, of course, one of the distinctive features of your side of the family are your eyes. You and your mom and your aunts all have the same eyes.
Sunken eyes.
And Elizabeth has the same eyes, and Parker Schiffer has the same eyes.
Oh, does he really?
Yes. But I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your parents before we move on. What would you say what traits about you do you think you have from your father and mother?
That's a terrible question because I've done my best not to have any. I know that sounds terrible.
Well, it's your history.
They were very social. They were very good in crowds. They could talk to the wall. That I didn't get. I wish I had. But we had dinner tonight together almost during the weekdays. I don't know. Maybe sports because of Daddy. He did do some sports at school, but Momo loved cards. She loved people. I do like cards, but only if I play myself. And I love people. So it's hard to. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at that.
Well, and that was actually, you've always been, very moderate in your drinking and everything you've done since I've known you. So was that a reaction to your parents?
Yeah, not so much Dad. Daddy never drank on Monday because he said he drank enough on Friday and Saturday, but he didn't drink much on Sunday. It was just to be honest, I think a lot of it was the time.
Right.
There was a lot of going to a nightclub, dancing, and having dinner and having drinks. I think that was we don't do that anymore.
Right, yeah. It was much more, I believe, social and I think parenting styles have changed.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, back then, there weren't any really books on how to be a good parent or what to do.
Well, I think they tried. If you were sick, my mother was the best nurse in the entire world, and she had this funny sense that when I was sick and the doctor came to the house, she said, "Betsy has scarlet fever." And he said, "Oh, I don't think so. No. And my mother said, "She has scarlet fever." So anyway, I went to the hospital and I did have scarlet fever. And she would call Tinka because she would get a sore throat. And she would call Tinka and then she'd call me and we had to tell her we were pregnant, and she knew it because she had the sore. And it happened. I don't think she had but 9 for Tinka and 7 for me. But it was because she wasn't alive for Virginia and Julia.
Right.
But it was weird. She could diagnose things before the doctor did.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I'd gotten that. It would have saved me a lot of money. But,
so, shifting gears a little bit. So, why did you go to California for college?
Because my sister went east and I wanted to be different.
And how did you pick? I mean, because that was before the internet. You couldn't just, get on the internet.
I knew I couldn't get in Stanford, and Mills was, my next choice after Stanford. And I loved it. I really did. I got on the student council or the hall council, and then I think I got it. Anyway, it was. I entered in wholeheartedly, and I loved every day, and it was great.
Well, now Elizabeth said, growing up, you said that to all your children that they were not allowed to go to California for college.
You're right. They're crazy out there.
So,
they're totally crazy. But luckily at Mills, there were very few girls from California. But the weather was perfect. Our sophomore year, my roommate had a car, and a bunch of us got tickets to different ballet or symphony and that sort of stuff. So we really were able to take advantage of, and Grandmama said if I went to and wanted to spend the night, I could stay at the St. Francis and she'd pay for it.
So was this near San Francisco?
It's right across the bridge.
Okay.
It's in Oakland.
Okay, and was it all girls?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I guess back in those days, I guess there were a lot of all men's school. I guess Stanford was co-ed by then, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I think most of them, Berkeley was close.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember any. Now, I don't know about those, what do they call them, those 4 colleges together?
Oh, down in Pomona. Parker went to one of them.
Yeah.
The sister schools?
I don't know if any of those were all boys or all girls. I don't know.
Yeah.
But in my day, I mean, Hollins was popular. It was all girls. There were a lot of all girls. Not Hockaday. That was an all girls.
Right, in high school.
High school. But I sort of liked the idea of all girls.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I hated to go to those mixers you had to go to when you're in that situation.
Right.
But I had fun at them, and I didn't date much because I had a few, and I thought this is not worth it. So, but anyway, I only went a year and 3/4. So.
Right.
But it was fun, and you had to admire some of the girls that there were on scholarship, because they came from the Philippines, and they did not know much English, so they would translate everything into their language, and then, but anyway, Mariquita Masterson was there, and Robin McCorkadale was there. She was Robin Hunt, but she and I would ride the train together to get there.
Was it Catholic college?
No.
No. Okay, so it was non-denominational, I guess, or just
totally non-denominational. Okay. Yeah. Luckily, one of my best friends was Catholic, so we walked to church every Sunday.
I asked Meryl this question. What was it? What was it like growing up Catholic in a predominantly non-Catholic world?
Well, it didn't bother me. I sometimes went to spend the night with Mary Ivy on Fridays, and they had fried chicken every Friday night, and so I was a problem. And I wish they they didn't make me feel like a problem except her father did, and he didn't like Catholics very much. But basically, you know, you didn't eat after 12 o'clock, but I didn't stay out that late, much.
Right.
And the meat on Friday was sometimes very awkward. At times you ate the vegetables and the potatoes and tried to get the potatoes out of the gravy if you possibly could. So it worked out.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends were Catholic.
Yeah, I mean, I asked that because, you know, growing up Jewish, I did face discrimination, and I know that being Catholic in some parts of the country is just similar in the sense that.
No, I was lucky because going to St. Anne's, I had a lot of Catholic friends. John had a lot of Catholic friends. In fact, most of his friends were Catholic. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And, you know, they went to their churches on Sunday and we went to ours, and I don't think it made a whole lot of difference, but it was the situation we were in that made it easy. I'm sure other places it wouldn't have been so.
Right.
And there were a few times when somebody would say something, but not enough that I can remember, you know, to make a difference.
Well, that's good. So, of course, your children love to laugh about, you know, you had 3 dates before you and Meryl got engaged, but and you were also at Kay's Lounge where, you know, you were underage, etc. But I mean, I can guess what attracted you to each other, but in your words, what do you think attracted both of you to each other?
I'm not sure. I was fat. I had my freshman 15 still. I don't think that would have made any difference. I don't know. When the night I met him, I looked at him and I looked at his eyes and I thought, I want to marry this guy. And it just lucked out for me. Why he decided, I don't know why. I mean, I wasn't particularly pretty, cute, or anything else. I guess he thought I was, you know, a nice girl, and he had just sort of, he hadn't just, but he almost married another girl, but she lived in Detroit or someplace like that. And but that didn't have anything to do. I asked him, what did he say?
Well, he a little bit evaded the question because Meryl, it took about 4 episodes for him to kind of
listen up.
Yeah, but he said that he was dating a woman from Detroit, but he knew it wasn't right, so he went on a trip to Europe to sort of escape.
Well, her father had gotten him a job.
Yeah, I think there was too much pressure.
And she was Catholic.
Yeah, right.
And he thought he better get out of there.
Right, so he did. He took a trip to Europe, and that killed that. And then he got a job at Anderson and Clayton and moved to Houston. We talked about that. But, you know, I think, of course, it's easy for me to say, but I think you two are truly a match made in heaven for lots of reasons. And by the way, I think Glasgow women are beautiful. And I think, you know, that it's a humble and understated beauty. I think that Meryl was smart to see that. I think that you guys had the same value system. You wanted the same things out of life. I think that religion was a big part of each of your lives, so you wanted to have someone you could share that with. And you know, I think that I think honestly, even though I'm not a person of faith, I think your faith really has been a bedrock of your marriage. You know, with 7 kids and how hard he worked and how often he was gone. You know, that you guys just stuck it out and made it work, and you know, that's really, I think. But
it was a nice foundation.
Yeah. So.
In fact, Miss G said that when you know, we told her we were engaged one afternoon, and she was here the next morning. But Billy had eloped, and it broke her heart.
Yeah.
And she said the best thing that ever happened to her was when she went to meet Tuck. She lost her voice. She got laryngitis, and she said that was the best thing. And she and Tuck got along really well, and Miss G was going to make that work. And but I think having let her know that, I don't know if Meryl told her. I don't think he may have hinted, but I don't anyway. But it was on Easter, and so we got engaged on Good Friday, and she got here on the Holy Saturday, and then Easter Sunday she got to meet the family because we all went over to Grandmama's. So it worked out really well. But she did say how nice you're both Catholics. Because see, Mr. Glasgow was not Catholic, but he was Unitarian. But not a practicing one.
Right.
So,
I want to ask you more about Mrs. G in a second, but so what's the truth? Because I've heard 3 dates, 6 dates,
No,
letters. How many real dates did you and Meryl have between the time you met and the time you got engaged?
okay, we did the cooking thing. You've heard about the cooking.
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, the night we met, he had a date with Margaret Anderson, a good friend of my sister's. I had a date with his roommate, Blue Barnett. He was so Southern. But anyway, he was very nice. And so why we got to talking about cooking, because neither one of us knew how to fry an egg. And so the boys said, okay, prove it. So we said, okay, so we set up a time, and my cook brought my part. Margaret's cook brought her part and drove us over there and left us because the boys were going to take us home. Well, the boys happened to be there. We didn't think they were going to be there, but they were, so they knew we had not cooked. But anyway, we had a nice dinner. It was a lot of fun. And after dinner, Meryl said, who wants to go for a walk? Well, I was out of that chair so fast. So was Margaret. So the 3 of us went. Blue Barnett didn't want to go, but the 3 of us went for a walk. So then Meryl called me up and he said, you accidentally got one of our plates. Can I pick you up and get the plate? And then I had to call him back because I had had some tummy trouble quite a while. And my parents kept saying, we'll worry about it after Tinker gets married. And so for 3 months that summer, I kept thinking, and I knew she was getting married in August. So I knew, and in August, well, anyway, I had my appendix out the day after I saw the doctor. They were twisted. Luckily, they didn't.
You still have stomach problems.
And so anyway, so I had to call him, but he sent me some flowers. I have the vase still. And my mother says, I don't remember doing it. I woke up and said, put those flowers beside me. I had no idea that they were the ones he had sent. And so then after I was able to go out, then we went once, we went twice. And then I had to go back to school, but we wrote back and forth. And then he came back at Christmas, and we went out, I think, every night then. Well, maybe not, well, I think he came back after Christmas. He wasn't here for Christmas.
So, yeah, he was in St. Louis?
Memphis.
Memphis, sorry.
Memphis. And so then it was after Christmas he came, and luckily the person I had a date with to a New Year's Eve party said he couldn't come, and so Blue Barnett stepped in and told the invitations, because these are invitation service parties, said that I think Meryl Glasgow likes Betsy. Would you please put them together? So they called and we went out. And then we went out every night till I went back to school. And then when I came home for Easter, we got engaged. But we wrote between that time. And I think the only reason I didn't go back to school, number one, my parents decided we really hadn't seen that much of each other. We better see more of each other. And my father wanted to paint his boat. So he took my airplane ticket and painted his boat. So
Okay.
Anyway, but that's what happened. And then I think Margie told me her parents knew each other for 6 weeks and got married.
Wow.
And their wedding is the day, they're the first and we're the second.
Okay.
And age-wise, we're about the same. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, so Miss G, you know, I knew her for a little while when Elizabeth and I were dating and when we got engaged. She, you know, there's a funny saying among Jewish people that, you know, the only person good enough for a Jewish son is his mother. And I always sensed a little bit of that from Miss G, that, you know, she was pretty protective of Meryl and, like, you know, my sense was a little bit tough to get along with.
Oh, not for me.
Not for you.
No, not at all. No, she always took my side.
Oh, okay.
Always. Whether she wanted to or not, I guess. But anyway, she was so kind to me. She really was. I was young when we got married, you know.
Right.
Kind of stupid probably in many ways. And she only hurt my feelings once, and that's when I went to Memphis when Tuck had her only child, their only child. And I found out that she had not told anyone about Bess, because Tuck and Billy, it was their first one. And I realized she didn't want to take away from their excitement because it was our fourth and their first. And but she didn't mean to be mean. She was protecting Tuck, and Tuck needed protection. She wanted all the attention that you could possibly give her, and so I can see why she did it. But still, it kind of
Yeah.
And I think I was embarrassing too, because we had 4 so fast. And because in her day you didn't have 4 that fast.
Right.
You didn't have 4, period.
Did you think going into your marriage that you wanted to have a lot of kids?
Yeah, I told Meryl I wanted 8.
Okay, well,
and he didn't argue. Anyway, it worked out. Miss G was my 8th.
So why 8? Like why?
I don't know. I just picked a number.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted a lot. I never babysat.
Right.
So I didn't know a thing about children, except for Nina Gray, who, when Dodo and Uncle Tom would come down to have drinks, they'd bring her, and she was horrible. Oh, she was horrible. She'd try to get out, and they said, don't let her come downstairs. Well, she would try to get out of the door, and I had to stand in front of it for the whole time they were down there having a good time. And she would do everything she could to get me away from the door. But now she's the most wonderful person in the world. But she was spoiled. She was the baby. And,
right.
But she got it all out of her system, I think, in my room. But I didn't. The 7 have worked out so well.
Right.
How lucky we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just scary. We're so lucky.
I want to talk about some of that. Elizabeth says that your best friend got pregnant, and then coincidentally you got pregnant with Virginia. So is there a connection there?
That was Nene Godfrey. She got pregnant with Ellen, and I had wanted more, and it was sort of, Meryl said, no. And so then when Nene got pregnant, he said, okay, because he knew I couldn't stand it. And so that's why we had Virginia, and luckily we had Julia.
Right, and you had Julia to keep Virginia company.
Well, it worked out, let me put it that way. And just think about Virginia, if she had been all there by,
Right.
And as the children get older, I think they get closer to those 2, because the doctor told me, be careful, they're going to have 7 parents. You're 5 children and you 2. And they said, don't let that happen.
Right.
But I think they all get along.
Right.
So,
oh yeah. So of course, I remember so many funny things. I remember sitting in your living room, and Meryl was talking about, having steak, or that you all ate steak every Friday night, and you said, Meryl, I was throwing up for 7 years, or but what was it like? I mean, now luckily you had some help, right? You had Irene.
After 3 children, she came full time.
So which is good, but still.
Yeah.
What was life like in the Glasgow house back when you had 3? Well, Dean, I guess, was a baby. Elizabeth would have been 4.
That's when we moved in here.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because Briar Grove was a 1-story house, and we didn't have room for Dean. And so we luckily found this house. And it was easier to manage in Briar Grove in a way. Well, I guess it was. The backyard was fenced in. They could go out and play on the swing set when they got old enough. And of course, when the swimming pool was full, I was out there with them, and then I would hide the swimming pool when I wasn't going to be out there. But then we moved in here, and Gay was going to St. Anne's. Walter was going to the Oats, I think, still, and William was going to Oats. No, he was going to a different. Anyway, they were all over the place, and I went to see Dr. Crane, and I said, I have this headache that starts right there, and it's like a fried egg. It just goes all the way down, and I said, I think I need help. Irene was. I don't know if she was even able to come. She might have come a little bit. And Mary, Grandmama's maid, came and cooked occasionally. And I said, I think I need more help. And he said, that caused you more headaches than anything. But anyway, then we did get a full-time live-in. And then it was chaotic, but it worked.
Right.
And they'll probably complain about, I'm sure each one will complain about some of the help. But they survived and I survived,
So when the kids were little, like if you had to pick a trait for each one, like the 7 dwarfs, you had Grumpy and Sneezy and whatever, how would you How would you?
I'm gonna get in trouble. I don't think I want to go there.
Well,
No, I said they were all energetic,
right.
and the three boys and Virginia were the best eaters.
Okay.
Bess and Gay and Julia were not easy to feed.
Okay.
I mean, it was babies. It was come on, you know that stuff. Virginia and the three boys just opened three boys just opened their mouths. I mean, it was just a dream. They were good sleepers, and Walter did bite, but my mother said I deserved it because I bit when I was a baby. In fact, she said she prayed every night that I would get one that would bite me, and so, but I'm trying to think. I would say most of them had a happy,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, listening to, Elizabeth's life story. I mean, growing up here and going to St. John's was idyllic. I mean, I think for her, college was a rude awakening because she grew up in this perfect environment,
I don't know if it was perfect.
great friends and great family. And
But she was lucky. Her class was good, and she really made some lifelong friends.
yes, absolutely. She talks to most of them every day.
And Gay had a good class. They were a little bit, some of them were a little too sophisticated, but it's interesting. At one point, I think someone of them hurt her feelings a little bit, and I said, just wait and see. You're going to be the happy one. They are not. And the ones that were the worst are divorced,
Yeah.
or ran off from their husbands and children.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. And so anyway, Walter had the worst class.
Yeah.
He really did.
Well, I know some of the guys that he went to school with, and I would agree with that.
Oh, they were.
They haven't changed a whole lot.
No,
Yeah.
no, they really haven't. And I felt sorry for him, but he was good in sports until he had those concussions.
Right.
And then he really couldn't. That's why track and sailing. And so, but he did well in college, and I think he enjoyed college. And then of course, the Olympics were wonderful, and they luckily they didn't mind working, and Merrill made sure they had summer jobs and earned their money,
Right.
And they were. I mean, there were days when I could have snatched each one ball-headed and
Sure.
given them away or whatever, but they could have given me away on any day too. So.
Well, what would you say, and don't be humble, but what would you say the secret of your success was in parenting 7 children that all grew up to be educated, nice, successful by any objective standard, well-adjusted, happy for the most, to the extent that human condition allows anybody to be quote-unquote happy.
Yeah.
I mean, that, I'm curious, what would you say?
I would say Marilyn and I both expected them to be honest, to work hard, to do the best they could in school. I think a lot of what we expected, luckily they just did. We didn't give them a list for some odd reason. Maybe we were doing it, so they did it, But I guess, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I guess there's no, just, of course, raising Walter and Parker, I couldn't really tell you. They both turned out, in my opinion, wonderfully.
Because you all set a good example.
Tried to, yeah, yeah.
I think that's a lot of it, and they knew we loved them,
Right.
The boys wondered when I spanked them a few times, but they deserved it. They don't think so probably, but nowadays you don't spank them, but it's probably a good deal not to spank them. I'm not sure that.
Yeah.
But Irene spanked us. Ooh, did she ever spank us? And but I'd ask the children.
Yeah, no, well, I know, but it's your all. I mean, I told you I'd ask a few tough questions, but.
Well, it's hard. I guess maybe example.
Yeah.
Merrill certainly worked hard. I mean, when we lived in Briar Grove, he left before they got up, and he came home after most of the time they were in bed. They didn't even see him.
That must have been really hard for you, though. I mean, that must have been. How do you look back on those years? I mean, obviously successfully, but that must have been.
There were
really
nights
hard.
when I was pretty tired, but then he, as they got older, it seems like he seemed. Of course, he was driving out to the ship channel. That made a difference. When
Right.
he moved downtown, that made a big difference.
Right.
I remember he would come home when he did come home early and get out the Wall Street Journal and start reading it. And I finally said, on your tombstone is going to be the Wall Street Journal died on such and such, and he cut it out. He realized
Right,
that his father wasn't very cuddly, and so he kind of had to learn a little bit of that.
Right. Well, you know, and I would say, and we're gonna go just a little over time, but at this one point, you know, of course, you know that I love you and Meryl to death. You know that. But you know, y'all are not. Of course, you are now, but you know, demonstrably affectionate, right? Like, you know, I know Meryl loves my children, but he's never hugged them that I remember.
Yeah.
He bonks them on the head. That's how he shows his affection. It sounds like you both grew up with families that were like that. You know, that were not emotive, I guess.
I think you're right. Irene hugged us. Grandma, I think, hugged us. Well, my parents hugged us. I mean, but I don't remember. I don't remember sitting on their laps and but I guess I did. You know, but
like if you had a problem, could you go to your mom or dad and say, "This is really bugging me," and you know, that kind of thing, or was it just not that way?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure I had that many problems.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I could.
Yeah.
I don't think I did it very often.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have.
Well, no, I mean it's you know we.
Hi there. This is the end of my interview.
We'll quit. We'll quit now, and we'll pick up.
Okay, ask her